Bring to your mind a pink elephant. Now bring to your mind a yellow balloon. If you were able to do either of those, then great. You have the inner ability to visualize for your specific person. So using that, in this video, I'm going to be giving you the visualization I use to manifest my specific person and tips and tricks on how you can visualize for your specific person too.
Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Matthew. I'm a manifestation coach who has helped many people create some amazing things in their lives. So if you want to be one of those amazing people creating amazing things, check the links down below. They'll take you to my website where you can see my coaching solutions. If you could drop me a like and a comment on this video just to let me know you like this kind of content going forward. And when you subscribe to the channel, click that bell icon so you don't miss one of those future videos. I'm once again running another giveaway, and this time there's 2 prizes for 2 winners. I'll be giving away all of my worksheets for free again because a lot of you seem to really like that as a prize. And I will be giving away 1 month free to my exclusive content membership. As many of you may know, I've moved the YouTube membership from YouTube over to Buy Me a Coffee because YouTube limited a lot of what I could do and took a huge chunk of the profits. So I've moved over to there and I will be giving away 1 month free to 2 winners. If you want to be entered into this giveaway, down below, comment anything you like and my favorite 2 comments will be announced as the winners. If you want to get in on that exclusive content right now, the link will also be down below. I look forward to working with you all and seeing all your amazing comments. Now into this video. Before I get into giving you my scene and how I went about everything, I do have a little bit of a disclaimer. I struggle to visualize, and I also don't particularly enjoy visualization. However, I have still manifested amazing things through visualization, whether it's Katie back, more money, more subscribers, many things. When I've chosen to do visualization, I have manifested stuff through it. So if you're someone who is watching this and wants to make use of it, but feels like you can't because you see only a black screen when you visualize, or your mind wanders too much, or what else is there? You can't incorporate all the senses very well, or when you're hearing a specific person, you're actually just hearing your own voice. You can still 100% visualize and manifest what you're visualizing. Because all of those 4 things that I just listed, I struggle with personally. And I still managed to not only get Katie back, but many other things through visualization. So if you're struggling, that's okay. You can still do it. And I'm going to give you some ideas on how you can do it like later in this video. However, my scene. As many of you may know if you've watched some of my older videos, my scene was quite simple, but it does imply the end result. It was a very short scene, but it was something that I could feel into as if it was true, as well as imply the end result. So my scene was I went home, knocked on the door, Katie opened the door, and we embraced and said some nice things to each other. From memory, it was stuff like, you know, I love you, I'm glad we're doing this, or I love you, I'm glad we're having a second shot at this, or something along those lines. Now, the reason why I chose this end result was for one of 2 reasons. The first reason, I already struggled with visualization. However, I wanted to make visualization, work for me. So I picked a scene that was very similar to how my day-to-day life would have been with some extra things. Now, before the breakup, if I came home from somewhere, I was always too lazy to get out my key. So I would knock on the door, Katie would open it, we would hug, and it'd be like, oh, how's work, or how was gym, or whatever it was that I was gone for. So the vast majority of my visual scene was depicted from memories of basically every single day. Me knocking on the door, her opening it, us hugging, how was work, how was this. I had just changed the words that we were saying. That really did help me with my visual scene because I was already used to the sound of my knock, the sound of the door opening, the sound of the feeling of Katie hugging, because it was a memory. It was something I had already experienced. So because I struggled with visualization as a whole, creating new scenes for me personally isn't the easiest to do. Now, some of you may be wizards at visualization and could just bang, 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 bang scenes out. But I struggled a little bit, so I utilized a memory or what I was used to or what was familiar to me, and then added on some extra little bits just to make sure that it was from the end result. And obviously the end result element of it, whenever you're doing anything, whether it's scripting, visualization, affirmations, they are all different ways of structuring your thoughts. Affirmation, spoken thought. Scripting, written thought. Visualization, visual thought. They are all just ways of thinking. And we know that our thoughts dictate our state, which dictates what we experience. So, my visual scene must imply the end result in order for that to put me in the state of being in that relationship with Katie, therefore feeding my subconscious mind that story of being in a relationship with Katie and therefore it pushing that out. Many people do things like visualizing texts or something. Now, texts, depending on what it is that you're visualizing, are okay. For example, if your visualization of a text is your person saying something like, "Can't wait for you to come home, I've missed you all day, I love you," or something, that at least implies the end result to a degree. Do I think it's the most effective? I would say probably not, but that doesn't mean you can't use that. But if your text was something as simple as a hi, that can happen whether you're in a relationship, friends, they want their stuff back, friends with benefits, number of things that may not imply the end result. So the two key factors that I incorporated when doing my visualization was something that actually helped me visualize, i.e., calling on a memory, and incorporating the end result. Now, memories are actually perfectly fine to use for visualizations if you choose to. Your subconscious mind does not have the concept of past, present, and future, and what is real and what is not. It only knows that what you are claiming right now is your truth. This is why your fears quite often manifest. Your subconscious mind thinks, if we're in a state of fear, that must mean it's going on right now. Why would we fear something that isn't even in existence? And therefore, because it assumes it's happening right this second, pushes it out. Same thing with a memory. If you have a memory and it makes you feel amazing, it implies the end result, obviously like a relationship or whatever, you can use that. Your subconscious mind does not understand the concept of past, present, future. Therefore, it doesn't know that it's a memory. It just assumes if we're calling on it right now, it must be in existence right now. So you can either use a memory, or you can use memories to help, as reference like I did, or you can create a brand new scene. Does not matter, as long as it is from the end result. Now, onto what I actually did to kind of prepare for my visualizations. You can just go straight into a visualization. But if you're someone like me that struggles with visualization, I recommend taking a few preparations first. For myself, what I did when I laid down on my bed, I focused on my breathing for a little bit to really calm my mind, to put myself into an alpha brainwave state. I would literally just focus on my breaths, in for a few seconds, out for a few seconds, in for a few seconds, and then I would do that for, 10 to 30 seconds, give or take. What this did was it calmed my mind. Because my mind was now more calmed, and when I was focusing on my breath, I was like focusing on the breath. So I wasn't just breathing in and out while thinking all over the place. I was actually focusing on my breath. Now that my mind was more calm, I found it easier, not perfect, but easier to control what it was doing. Because I'd calmed myself, it wasn't racing thinking about that meme that I just saw and what I was having for dinner tomorrow and what Katie's doing and XYZ thing. It was just more calm and I had more control over it. So by doing this, that kind of alleviated that concern of my mind wandering all the time. Then I brought my visual scene to mind and I tried my best to incorporate as many of the senses that I experienced during that scene. For example, hearing the knock on the door, hearing Katie speak to me, feeling the hug, smelling what Katie smelled like, seeing as much of the scene as I possibly could. Now, I referenced earlier that I saw only black. Yes, I very much do struggle to actually bring a visual image to mind, but I could kind of get glimpses if I really tried to. However, doesn't matter. You know what that story is, you know what that scene is, and your subconscious mind picks up on the state that you're in, which is, for me at that time, relationship. So, I calmed my mind, then brought the scene together, and as you may have noticed, my scene was no more than 5 seconds long. The reason being, it is easier to loop a scene consistently without changing details or without kind of getting bored and your mind wandering when it is a shorter scene. Now, this does not mean that you have to make a 5-second scene and nothing more. If you really like 15-second scenes where your person is like monologuing how much they love you, do that. This is your visualization and it needs to be what is good for you. But for me, I preferred the shorter scenes because my mind wandered less. I could incorporate the senses easier without forgetting about them, and or I could just kind of loop it over and over, and by starting it again and then doing the scene, starting it again, then doing the scene, starting it again and doing the scene, I found that helped my mind stay more focused on it. Think about, silly example, But think about if you're on TikTok or Instagram or something. If there's short clips, you tend to find yourself watching the whole thing. But if you come across like a minute-long clip, most people don't watch the whole way through before scrolling. Very similar thing here. Your mind has a very short attention span, especially with the rise of social media and basically cheap dopamine. So, by having a shorter scene, for me personally, I found that it helped me extend how long I was doing that scene before my mind started wandering. And that is all I basically did. I looped that over and over and over again, basically until I fell asleep, or at least until just before I fell asleep. I can't quite remember whether I actually fell asleep to it or whether I kind of just got bored and then fell asleep. But I looped it over and over again at night up until basically I could remember either being asleep or just before I fell asleep. And that is essentially all that I did. And I did that every night until my manifestation came into fruition. And that was my visual scene. That is what I did. I used the memory as, I used the memory as a reference. I came from the end result. When visualizing the actual scene itself, I calmed myself first to try and give my mind the best possible chances to do this scene without getting in its own way. I tried to incorporate as many of those senses as I possibly could, and I looped it over and over again as best that I possibly could until I fell asleep. Now, yes, there were instances when I noticed my mind wandering. Not as much because I'd calmed myself down before doing so, but there were instances. In those moments, all I did was just bring that scene back to where I left off, essentially. I made it a habit to bring that scene back to the end result or back to my visualization without getting frustrated. That is one thing that I know many people do when they're visualizing. They get frustrated that they can't hold that scene particularly well. They get frustrated and they either give up or they sit in that frustration, they try to force it and they get mad at it and yada yada yada. Your submind does not have the concept of past, present, and future as I mentioned earlier, which means it does not care whether you are bringing your focus back to that scene a million times before you can do that scene fully without letting your mind wander. Every time that you bring that scene to mind, your submind assumes that it's going on now, or the impression that will be given to it is the assumption that it's going on right this second. Which means if you do it 10 times and fuck up each one of those 10 times, your submind will not have any kind of recollection of the mess up. All it knows is your dominant state. Therefore, if you keep bringing that scene back to the point where you're making it dominant, it will still have the same success and effect. However, if you get frustrated and go, oh, I need to do this because I need to make this visualization happen, you're telling your subconscious mind by literally having that outlook on it that you don't have it right now and you're trying to make it happen. Instead of just experiencing the scene and allowing that stuff to put your focus back on it and then experiencing it and then putting your focus back on it and showing your subconscious mind this is our experience, you're getting frustrated with it saying, I need to do this to make it happen. And therefore your state is that of it not being in existence. So the biggest thing that I could recommend to you guys is to calm your mind, because when it's calmed, your mind doesn't wander off as much. But if it does, just relax. Just relax. You're just enjoying a scene. Try to see it as not you're not doing something to get something. You're doing it because it's your experience. And just relax and let it happen. And that was a big game changer for me, even with my struggles to visualize. If you've enjoyed this video so far, be sure to drop me a like and a comment just to let me know. And when you subscribe to the channel, make sure to click that bell icon so you don't miss one of those future videos. Remember, there is the giveaway going on as well. 2 prizes for 2 winners. So if you want to be entered, comment anything you like down below and you will be immediately entered into the giveaway, and the winners will be announced this Friday. Thank you for letting me take some more of your time. Now into the final point. So my final point to kind of leave you with this is, what would be a good scene for you? And one thing that I recommend you do, and I do have a worksheet on my website if you want it to try and help you do this. However, what I recommend you do is to get a deep understanding of what you want to experience. You know, your actual end result, relationship, marriage. Some people might even just want the friends with benefits, and whatever it is that you actually want to experience. Now that you've got a clear understanding of that, then create a scene that implies this truth. So if it is a relationship, you could, just a couple of examples, a 1-year anniversary. You could do the same sort of scene that I did. You could visualize you telling your mum how amazing your relationship is with this person. Just a couple of examples. If it's marriage, you could do a 1-year marriage anniversary, the actual wedding itself. I don't know, some other ones, showing your old school friend the photos of your wedding with your person in it, or something like that. You know what I mean? There's a couple of examples. If it's friends with benefits, it could be literally you guys in the act. It could be you guys talking about it. I don't know. But you get what I mean. Just understand what would actually imply that your end result is in existence right now. One thing that I think is worth trying to consider, and obviously you can't make it like perfect, but one thing to consider is asking this question. Is this scene possible outside of a relationship? Now, this isn't going to be that big of a deal because you know what that scene is kind of implying, but it is worth trying to make sure that the scene you use is only possible in your end result, just to give yourself the best possible chances of it happening in the way that you want. For example, with my scene, it could have been taken as I was picking up my stuff and we were just embracing before the breakup or before I move out. Obviously, yes, by saying I love you and I'm glad we're having the second chance, that kind of takes it away from that avenue. But if I hadn't said that, me knocking on the door, Katie answering, and then us hugging could have meant really anything. Therefore, it could have happened in a way of more friendship, or us hugging just before I take my stuff out the house, like I mentioned. So to give yourself the best possible chances, I would recommend considering, does my scene or can my scene happen outside of the relationship? Or obviously this is a specific person video, but if you want it to be your job, can this happen outside of having the job, or if it's a house, outside of having the house? Consider, is it possible? Now, it isn't the biggest worst case scenario, because hopefully by envisioning that scene, you'll know what's going on and it will put you in the state of having your desire. But this is just one of those extra tick boxes to ensure that you're getting the best that you possibly can out of it. So, you know your end result, you now have a scene that implies it. Now let's start actually fleshing out that scene. You have 5 senses. I recommend, if you can, incorporating as many of those 5 senses as possible. You don't need to, but the more senses that you incorporate, the easier it will be for your conscious mind to surrender itself to that end result. The more that you can basically trick your mind into thinking we really are on our wedding anniversary, as opposed to just laying in bed thinking about our wedding anniversary, the easier it will be for your conscious mind to surrender, and therefore you to impress that story. Because remember, our subconscious mind is like the gatekeeper for your subconscious mind. So I would recommend incorporating as many senses as possible. Now, I do recommend you writing this stuff down, or using a worksheet if you choose to go for my online worksheet, but write it down to actually get clear. One thing that I found when I was doing my kind of visualization was that I tried to just go straight into it. Wasn't that effective? Because when you just go straight into it, you're trying to think, oh shit, actually it would smell like this, it would feel like this, I would see this. And you're focusing more time on trying to build the scene as opposed to actually experiencing the scene. Which isn't that big of a deal, but again, like I mentioned a second ago, you want to give yourself the best possible chances. If you're going to be using the time to visualize, you may as well use it in a way that is effective for yourself in the best possible way. So I recommend actually considering it first, maybe even write it out as a story, and consider what you would hear, what you would see, what you would smell, what you would taste, and what you would feel. Now, yes, you may not have all of those things. For example, on a wedding anniversary, you may not necessarily taste anything, or if you're in bed with your person and you're just sat there in silence, you may not necessarily hear anything. But incorporate as much as you can that would actually make sense. That then would build the scene. Try to keep it shorter, I would recommend, but again, if you really like the longer scenes, do the longer scenes. This is your visualization. But that kind of builds the scene for us. Then, I do recommend doing it morning and night. Your subconscious mind is more receptive within those times because your conscious mind goes into an alpha brainwave state. And as I've shown in previous videos, there's been studies to show that this literally bridges the gap between the conscious and the subconscious mind. So just as you've woken up or just before you're falling asleep, I would recommend doing this visualization. To give yourself the best possible chances, also, I would recommend either doing this sort of deep breathing thing that I referenced to try and calm yourself down, or listen to soft, soothing, calming music. Something that you can anchor your mind to that isn't racing a million miles an hour and can help calm yourself down to bring that scene to mind. Once you feel like you're in a decent state, that's when you bring that scene to mind and you loop it over and over and try to incorporate as many of those senses, as many of the visual scene as possible, over and over again until you feel genuinely fulfilled as though it is your experience then. When you kind of feel that nice feeling inside as though, oh, actually, yes, I really am here, we really are embracing, we really are on our wedding anniversary, you'll know that you're kind of actually stepping into that state and surrendering to it. If you choose to, that's enough. But if you want to carry it on because it feels good, carrying it on because it feels good is fine. When it comes to like the nighttime, I do recommend trying to fall asleep to it, just because it'll be like the last thoughts that you have before you sleep, giving your subconscious mind as much of that story as possible to work with overnight. Obviously, during the morning, we're all limited by what we have to do during the day. But this is my recommendation. Morning and night, trying to fall asleep to it, do something to calm yourself first, bring a scene to mind, incorporate as many senses as possible, and just simply redirect focus back to that scene if your mind falls away. And that, in my opinion, is the best way to visualize. I have improved my visualization using these tips since then. I still don't particularly like it, but I am definitely a lot better at visualizing now than I was back then. And in all honesty, if I was anything that I could change about my visualization back then, I would probably make the scene more end result. Now, yes, I did still get what I wanted, so it's perfectly fine. But having become more efficient in my own manifestations and stuff, and working with clients and seeing how people's experiences happen when they do their visuals, when they do certain scenes, because one of the best things that helped me learn about manifestation even better was coaching other people. Because when I was manifesting, I only really had my own experiences to learn from and YouTube videos. But now that I've been helping people for over a year now, I learn more about what other people have experienced, which has really helped me with my own experiences also. And one of the things that I would go back and change if I could, which obviously I don't need to, but like if I could give myself something back then, was to just make that end scene more end scene-y. But I really hope this video has helped. I really hope it gives you some ideas going forward and shows you how you can visualize more effectively for your specific person. If it has, again, drop me a like, comment, and subscribe just to let me know all of that. And, you know, involve yourself in the giveaway. I've heard some good things about the worksheets, and I'll be doing a lot of exclusive videos, 2 a month for each. So I've got a self-improvement as well as a manifestation membership, 2 videos for each every single month. And because they're for the members, they are going to be your requests as well as anything I think is important. And the membership also has discounts as well as members only lives, which will be coming soon when we have more members. So thank you everyone for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye.